I've got a bit of a dry throat, sorry. What the long-term sort of process has been one of kind of introducing it, it's almost like a poll tax. What happens is that they've been trying to separate water, so they have effectively separated water out of the rates, and they've got a uniform annual charge now, as well as some of it's done on capital value. But with the commercial sector, water's all water metered and it's compulsory. But what the whole thing is moving towards is eliminating water from the rates, and it's become a separate entity. It's a way of actually introducing a poll tax, of making everybody pay basically a more uniform amount for water, and that actually cuts to the heart of what democracy is, sharing the benefits, because we're not talking about sharing when we do that. We're not talking about sharing, we're talking about a user pay system whereby individuals pay for the use of water.
So I just want to add something. I don't want to I completely idealise what existed before neoliberalism, though. You do get that problem if you start with neoliberalism in the story, because if you've got a class of people who stand to gain from making profit off services, then that's what they're going to do as profit rates start to fall. So I mean, social democracy had the basis for neoliberalism kind of contained within it, but yeah, sorry, that's just one ideological point.
Frank,
no,
would you be able to that? Just before we have any more questions, I just wanted to pass around the water petition. If anyone hasn't signed it, feel free to take a look, and if you think it's something that you agree with, definitely sign. Alistair and then Helene?
Yeah, I guess I had two questions mainly for all the speakers. You noted, Frank, in year one, how between, I think it was 1994, 1995 to 2000 and something or other, the amount of money that corporations and the corporate sector pay for water declined. I can't remember the exact figures off the top of my head, but by a decent wee margin. How exactly did that happen? Was that because the corporate taxes were cut or something, or how did that take place?
As I understand, it's part of the council's shift of paying from moving the burden from the initially the commercial sector paid a lot more, and their aim is to get that down to a smaller amount more.
That's Frank's. Frank's got it right. The separation of water from the actual general rate, and the moving of the commercial business rate onto the residents explains the changes. And unfortunately, not enough councillors oppose it. So we did actually have pretty close to 50% of the council, and then 2 councillors defected onto the business side. And so 4 of us consistently vote against this process, but we don't have the numbers to change it.
Helene?
I was going to ask a similar question to Alistair, but I guess, no, actually I'll just leave it. I just found it quite astounding, like how there wasn't really much difference in the amount that businesses had paid compared to residential. I mean, residential, it's almost doubled over the last 10 years.
3 times.
Yeah, all right. Okay, yeah, thanks. Okay. Far more than doubled. Yeah, that's astounding, compared to what business pay.
So there's one, I agree with one thing. There are more people, of course, as well. That's another issue. But they're using less
there'd be
per
more
person.
businesses as well, or
Not necessarily. I think there has been a loss in some business anyway. We still have the abattoirs. We have the hospital. They use quite a bit. They're probably our major.
You've got it, Frank. Frank's done very good work actually on this, and so has Ian, by the way. And he's done tremendous work on this.
So basically, like a large number of the reasons why water wastage occurs the moment it's a leakage, and obviously, it seems common sense that a better way of addressing the issue of water conservation would be for the council to invest in maintaining the pipes to a better extent or whatever. So it's almost like and feel free to comment on or reply to this later, it's almost as if neglecting the pipes in order, so they know they're going to leak, they know they are leaking, and are using that to imply that somehow residents are increasing the amount of water they use, and the problem lies with ordinary people's usage of water in their showers and their gardens or whatever. And I just find that interesting because it's actually a general trend in New Zealand as a whole. Like the New Zealand ruling class and businesses and so on, for decades now, haven't been investing in research and development and technology and so on. And then of course it becomes, well, workers aren't productive enough, that's why you don't get a wage increase. And the sort of parallel here is that, well, councils aren't investing in fixing the pipes or improving the pipes, which I suppose are quite old. And then it becomes, well, the reason that water's been wasted is because you're using too much in your showers. Here come water meters.
And, sorry, just in terms of that point about that's the general trend, I think that's a really important point. It's the kind of the very short-term planning that tends to be happening now, and the very, very quantitative sort of profit-based planning largely. And part of the reason for that, of course, as mentioned, is that profit rates were falling. So you've got basically investors want their fix, and it's largely about how you can generate short-term profits. So, you know, for the stock markets. And so infrastructure be damned, pretty much. But, yeah.
I think it sounds like a conspiracy. It probably isn't a deliberate conspiracy, but it adds up to it. But the problem is that in the 13 years that I've been on council, I have attempted on numerous occasions to lift the amount we spend on the pipes and the drains, because actually that's what it comes down to, is we're underspending in that area. And it's a political decision. I mean, you know, council would prefer to have an indoor sports centre, a marine education centre, you know, the other things it does. And this is a council that very much likes to have the froth and the bubble and the buzz, should I say, that comes from those kinds of projects. Whereas if you're just doing, you know, the stuff we take for granted, it doesn't have the same glamour, does it?
Jocelyn, were you going to say something? And then Joel.
Why doesn't the other areas within the Wellington area join in on the capacity idea? Because some of them did not, and that's so only Wellington and Lower Hutt.
Lower Hutt.
Upper Hutt's not actually part of the partnership, it's just contracting its work to capacity. And that's because Upper Hutt is probably quite suspicious of the big picture. And Paeroa and Kapiti probably don't want to, you know, give up any of what they've got. So it is a kind of a resource thing as well. And there's always been quite a lot of rivalry between those local authorities. So that's, you know, that's one of the reasons why.
Something like bureaucratic inertia or something.
But as was mentioned before, Roger Kerr actually finds this very annoying. Now, it's actually a good thing to have lots of local authorities, because then all the resources, you know, are in dispersed control. And what he really wants, you know, is for capacity to thrive and get everything in there, because that's actually their vision, is to have one dominating.
Actually, what you see with Roger Kerr is he's actually really viciously, like since about 97, he's been really critical of corporatisation, going on about how it's not enough and it's, you know, it's not providing sufficient services and we need competition over water and multiple investors. So he's really driving for corporatisation isn't enough, we need to privatise. And so, like, that could be a factor in why they've been quite cagey in terms of the